This is the HPT.
Sit right down, put on your poker face. You with the big dogs now. Better bring your best game. Talk trash all you want. To me, it's all the same. You won't leave with much when you come in second place. I'm the one with the stack showing 7 to the jack. Gon' cry to your mama cause I'm sending you back. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. Last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand.
Hello everyone and welcome to the HPT. My name is Jaymz Larson and tonight I'm joined by professional poker player David Williams. David, welcome back to the HPT.
Thanks for having me again. I had such a great time, had to come back.
Well, tonight we're going to give out more money on the show when we broadcast from the Thunder Valley Casino Resort right outside of Sacramento, California, here in Lincoln, California. We started with 479 players, creating a prize pool of just over $693,000. And tonight we're going to crown our new HPT champion. That person will go home with just under $160,000 in cash. Now I have to ask, you remember your first six-figure score, David?
I could never forget. I happened to get second place at the main event of the World Series of Poker in 2004 for $3.5 million.
So wait a minute, that was your first six-figure score and your first seven-figure score. Oh, to be David Williams. Well, let's go down to the felt, meet the players, and take a look at tonight's prize pool.
And there it is, my favorite graphic of the night, all that cash that we're playing for. Your ninth place person will go home with just under $14,000, but up top, just under $160,000 right here on the HPT as we come to you from Lincoln, California, Thunder Valley Casino Resort. The chip count looks like that. Nick's up top. I say it every week, David, it's anybody's game because with the structure we have here in the HPT, it truly is anybody's game. Blinds 20,000, 40,000 with a 5K ante. So yeah, welcome to the booth, man. This will be fun.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Love the HPT.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you with us here in Lincoln, California. We'll have 2 episodes out of this property here, Thunder Valley Casino Resort. I want to thank Ben Irwin, the poker room manager, for having us back. I still can remember our first event we ever did with Ben. And it's been growing ever since. It's such a hotbed out here in California. People love the HPT and they love playing this event.
So Brett opens pretty standard with ace-jack offsuit. Michael in seat 9 finds ace-10 of clubs, which is normally a good hand. But you are facing an early position raise and it is easy to be dominated. So a lot of amateurs would make a call here. But he figures it out and gets rid of it to the early position raise.
He's going to fold. The one seat of Nick's going to fold. Now over to the big blind of Mark. And I guess I see him protecting here as he looks down at an ace as well.
It's a lot easier for him to make this call. He's got almost half the bet already in the pot. I still would prefer the ace-10 of clubs in position than the ace-4 out of position, but when you're getting a discount of half, it's pretty hard to fold any ace.
And Mark is going to make the call.
King of diamonds, 5 of clubs, deuce.
And the flop now is king 5 deuce, couple of diamonds. Mark is first.
Mark flops a gut shot wheel draw. He needs a 3 to complete a wheel. He checks, hoping to get a free card, but in this spot I actually like to lead out. You find out a lot of information and you put pressure on your opponent and you can win the pot in 2 ways. You might be called, and then if you hit your 3 or your ace or your 4, depending on what's good, you can win. But they might just give it up if they don't have a hand that connected to that flop, which they're unlikely to have. This ace-jack probably would have folded. Instead, he check calls, but he's putting himself in a position where he's going to have to improve to win the pot.
Turn card now is the queen of diamonds. Mark checks again, and Brett picking up more draws here. He's in the lead with his ace, but now he's got the flush draw and the straight draw, and he's going to bet.
It's a great card for Brett to bet. It's unlikely Mark had a flush draw, and that card is really a scary card for an underpair. Let's say that Mark had a 5 or a pocket 6s. Another big card in addition to the diamond draw. You're likely going to win the pot and fire a second bullet.
We'll be right back with more exciting HPT final table action.
Hello, this is Ben Irwin, the Director of Poker Operations for Thunder Valley Casino Resort. Sitting next to me, this is Jenkins Davis. He's the manager of High Stakes. Jenkins, tell us what we could expect when we visit High Stakes.
When you come into High Stakes, you're getting a great experience. You're getting a 4-dime type of service where we're really executing on food service, atmosphere, and value. Having dry-aged prime steaks cooked on a cast iron skillet. In addition, coming to us, we're going to have a really nice selection of wines, ranging from Napas, French wines, Bordeaux. Anything of your selection you definitely can find at High Stakes. In addition, We have a really nice patio that we're going to be opening up in the spring. It's really going to showcase a nice ambiance, waterfall features, fire pits. We're going to be having live music out there on certain nights. Come on out to High Stakes because you're going to get a well-rounded experience.
He's Jaymz Davis, and I'm Ben Irwin. Keep up with all the poker action at hptpoker.com.
Welcome back to the HPT. It's Jaymz Larson joined by David Williams. This week we are at the Thunder Valley Casino Resort right outside of Sacramento, California. It's great to be back out here on the West Coast. I love being in California.
Yeah, I like playing on the West Coast. It's a lot easier for me considering I'm from Vegas.
Well, I live in the Midwest where right now it's about 42 degrees. So it's nice to be out here and have the sun and the beautiful weather. Let's head back down to the Felt and pick up the action.
Nick still leading the pack. Of note, Jared and Rick are super short with only 4% of the chips in play, and they're going to need to make a move soon.
All right, the blinds are 20,000, 40,000 with a 5K ante. 9 players remain here at this nationally televised final table. All right, the action will start with the 5 seat of Mike. He looks down at King Queen.
Looks like finding King Queen under the gun. A lot of people like to raise his hand, but at a 9-handed final table, I wouldn't recommend it.
It's a raise to 85,000. And here on the HPT, we see a lot of players overplay the King Queen, David.
King Queen is a fine hand when you're shorthanded, or when you're in position, or when you're putting a lot of pressure on the shorter stacks. 9-handed final table with the lion's share of the prize being in the top 3 spots. I like to be a little conservative at first, let other people kind of knock themselves out.
Fold it around now to the 2 seat of Mark. He's on the button and looks down at pocket 7s. He announces a raise, and he's going to go up to 135,000.
Normally I wouldn't 3-bet an early position raiser with 2 7s when I have the button anyway, so I'm going to be in position during the hand. But I guess he's been playing with Mike throughout this tournament. He knows Mike's probably opening with a lot of hands, such as King Queen, and you can usually apply pressure and get him to fold those hands.
And you know, players, they want to see a flop with King Queen, you know, to try to outflop those pocket 7s of Mark, and Mike is going to do just that. Mike Riddle, 31 years old. He's got 100,000 in lifetime earnings. He's from Elk Grove, California. And right in the window, wow, look at this. King, Queen, 8, a couple of clubs. We talk about outflopping. Well, Mike did it right there.
It's actually kind of scary to call with King Queen out of position because a lot of the times you can end up being against Ace King or Ace Queen and not know if your hand is good. When you flop both your pairs, top 2 pair, it's a lot harder to be beat.
So Mike checks. Mark bets 75,000, and now Mike's going to raise to 175,000. So the old check raise, and Mark's going to exit real quick. The winner of the hand is Mike Riddle. So King Queen, that's about the dream flop right there. Dream scenario for Mike Riddle.
And I think he check raised because he's hoping he's up against Ace King and he might just get it all in and have the Ace King dominated.
It's Jaymz Larson and professional poker player David Williams as we broadcast this week from Lincoln, California, the Thunder Valley Casino Resort. I want to remind you, if you want to play for the life-changing cash, why not give it a shot? Check out our webpage at www.hptpoker.com. Tonight, up top, just under $160,000. Action over to Tom, who's going to raise, and now a 3-bet shove by the Patriot fan, Jared Griner, is going to shove with his pocket 6s.
Normally, you know, pocket 6 is the kind of hand where it's very marginal, but when you have 4% of the chips, which he had a pretty short stack, you've got to find a spot where you can get your money in and try to double up and get back in this tournament. You can't sit there and just blind away waiting for aces.
Action now to the 8 seat of Ricky. Looks down at Ace King, and he's asking for a count.
It's actually the worst thing you want to see or hear when you move all in with pocket 6s because you know your opponent is not thinking with pocket 5s or worse. So you've either got a coin flip or you're dominated by a bigger pair.
And Ricky is going to make the call. Action now over to Tom with his Ace-Jack, and he's going to fold. So we flip over the cards, and it's a classic race situation. The Ace-King going up against the pocket 6s. Who do you like?
Well, considering Ace-Jack was already folded, the Ace-King is an even bigger underdog. There's not as many outs to improve, so I'm a math guy. I'm going to have to go with the 6s.
Flop is Ace-Jack 7, so just like that, Ricky outflops Jared, and Jared is not happy.
Jared's down to 2 6s remaining in the deck. It's not a good feeling being in this spot. I've been there. You just feel like it's never going to come.
Turn card is the 4 of diamonds. So Jared looking for one of the remaining 2 6s in the deck. Otherwise, he's going to be eliminated in 9th place. And the river card is the 10 of clubs, and that's going to do it for Jared. He's eliminated. Now, just 3 months ago, he was the bubble boy at our event at the Commerce. Tonight, he makes the final table, but unfortunately, he's the first one eliminated. But not for nothing, going home with just under $14,000. Congratulations to Jared Griner. Action continues now from the Thunder Valley Casino and Resort. Jaymz Larson and David Williams as we broadcast from Lincoln, California, right outside of Sacramento.
Mike's found 2 red 9s under the gun.
And under the gun with his 9s, he's going to raise to $85,000. Fold it around to Ricky. Ricky's going to fold.
Looks like the standard raise at the table has become just over 2 times the big blind. It's kind of funny. It's whenever somebody kind of starts opening to an amount, usually the rest of the table adapts and just does the same thing.
Nick's going to re-raise now with ace-queen.
So Nick has the button, and he has a strong hand. I really like 3-betting here.
And Mike is going to make the call, and the flop is king 5-4. Mike's going to check over to Nick.
Now Nick's going to continuation bet here, which is something I think you should always do in spots like this, on flops like this. It's unlikely king 5-4 really connected to your opponent's hand that he raised under the gun with, unless he happened to flop a set, which he probably didn't. Mike's going to give it up, but knowing what I just said is a reason for Mike to make the call, because you know your opponent is going to be continuing, but then you think about what hands is he 3-betting me with. If it's not ace-king, it's usually pairs bigger than 9. So he gives it up. He takes the conservative route, which I like at final tables.
When we come back, we'll have more exciting final table action. Welcome back to the HPT. It's Jaymz Larson and professional poker player David Williams as we broadcast this week from Lincoln, California, right outside of Sacramento, here at the Thunder Valley Casino Resort. And as you look at the chip counts there, David, Ricky leading the pack, but Nick right behind him.
And Rick Collison still has some work to do with 4% of the chips. Only 13 big blinds. He doesn't have long until he's going to have to find a hand and be forced to go with it.
Blinds are 20,000, 40,000 with a 5K ante. Under the gun is Ricky. He looks down at a good blackjack hand, the 9 deuce. He folds. Mike folds as well. And Nick's going to fold from the 1. Over to Mark now on the 2. Looks down at queen 4 of clubs. Tom folds. Now we go over to Mike. Looks down at, well, yeah, I saw 1. I saw 2. Pocket aces for Mike on the button.
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing spot to be in. You're going to raise the button with almost any hand anyway, so your opponents aren't going to give you credit for having a hand as strong as aces.
So he's going to raise to $85,000. Over to Brett now. I didn't see Brett's cards. He's in the small blind. He's going to make the call with king jack of diamonds and the big blind of Rick fold. So it's Mike and Brett, the aces, up against the king jack.
A lot of players would 3-bet out of the blind with king jack of diamonds here against the button raise.
Boy, and this could be trouble as the flop comes jack, 10, tray, couple of spades.
Really hard to get away from top pair when your kicker is as strong as a king. Only hands you're losing to are ace jack and bigger pairs, and you don't really expect your opponent on the button to always have a bigger pair.
So Mike's going to bet $90,000. I mean, Brett could even check raise here.
Right. I mean, there's no way he's considering folding. He's thinking here, do I want to call or do I want to check raise? I think he's going to call and try to give his opponent some rope to hang himself. Little does he know, he's the one with the rope around his neck.
Little does he know. Turn card now is the 4 of hearts.
Only thing that changes is it makes Brett think his hand is even stronger. It's unlikely the 4 helped anything the button was raising with. If he didn't believe him on the flop, he's definitely not going to believe him now.
Brett checks over to Mike. Mike's thinking, all right, what do I bet here? And what should he bet? Pot size right now, just over 400,000. He's going to bet 205. You like that?
Yeah, I like a small bet here. You don't think your opponent necessarily has a super strong hand. He didn't check raise you. He just called. So you think he might be being curious with a draw, maybe a 10, maybe even a 3. So you don't want to scare him away. You do want to get value with your aces.
And Brett is going to make the call.
Yeah, again, there's no way you can really get away from this hand if you're Brett. He's just lucky he didn't raise.
And the river card is the 5 of hearts. So we've seen Brett check, call, and he's going to check over to Mike again.
If you call on that flop and you call with the turn as a 4, you're going to call when the river's a 5-2, unfortunately for him. There's no way Mike can check this back here. It's not like any hand that was calling him down really improved. And if he did have something like 10-4 or 10-5, you're just going to have to let the man win the pot.
He's going to make a bet of $325,000, and Brett doesn't know what to do.
I think Brett started to figure out, though, his opponent, for him to fire 3 streets, isn't bluffing. Now is his hand stronger than your jack?
And Brett is going to make the call, and they're going to flip over the cards. And Brett did it the entire way down. He check called all the way to the end. And good news for Mike, a pot of just about $1.5 million. So really, he played those aces perfectly, David.
Right, I think he got the most value he could get out of him. I think you could see Brett on that river bet was really disgusted at it when he made the bet. He still called, but I think he could tell that it's unlikely that Mike was betting with a worse hand.
Ricky now wakes up with pocket queens, and he's going to raise to $110,000.
I like it here. Ricky's just playing solid cards. Plays his ace-king, plays his queens.
And the seats 9 and 1 both folding. Now over to the 2 seat of Mark, who looks down at Queen Jack. He's going to fold.
Yeah, the final table's not really a spot where you want to mess around and play loose. Not until at least, a lot of players have been eliminated and you've kind of made some more money, because you do make money by players busting out.
And now Mike continues his heater here as he looks down at pocket sevens in position and makes the call. And the flop, 2 aces and a deuce, couple of hearts out there.
When you get a flop like this, you don't put your opponent on having an ace, because with 2 of them on the board, it's unlikely they have one, which makes Mike actually think his hand is a lot stronger, and Ricky slow plays it with a check.
So it checks over to Mike. Mike bets $100,000. And Ricky is going to raise. He's going to raise to $275,000, and Mike's sevens are getting much smaller as he looks down, and he's going to muck his hand. The winner of the hand is Ricky.
I actually don't like the way he played this. That check raise there is really never getting called by any hand except an ace, and then you're inflating the pot against a better hand. I think I would like better just check calling or leading out.
Blinds are $20,000, $40,000 with a $5K ante. Up top tonight, just under $160,000. We lost 1 player at this final table, so the next person eliminated will go home with just over $17,000. Nick's going to raise to $105,000.
Finds ace-king under the gun.
Action on Brett. I think he's still steaming a little bit with the hand that he lost to Mike. He lost quite a bit of chips in that hand, really, David.
Yeah, I mean, he lost most of his stack. It's a tough situation when the button raises and you flop top pair with a strong kicker. I think he could have gotten away on the river. It's unlikely he's just firing the river again.
I mean, I think he just maybe thought Mike was on a draw. He just check called him all the way down, and now Brett wakes up with pocket 8s, and it's a 3-bet shove.
And Ricky with another hand. He can't get in there with 2 5s, but he does have a hand.
So action over to the 1 seat now of Nick, and I see him making this call, and he does just that. We flip over the cards, and right there you see ace-king going up against the pocket 8s. Once again, a coin flip, a race here on the HPT. And the flop is ace-6-4, couple of clubs. Not a great flop for Brett.
He does have the only club in the hand, so he does have some runner-runner possibilities in addition to an 8 to stay alive, but he's going to need a miracle.
And now we go to the turn card. It is the Trey of Hearts,
which shuts off all the runner-runner possibilities. He's strictly down to one of the 2 8s.
And the river card is the 9 of clubs, and that is going to do it for Brett Murray, the 26-year-old professional poker player. But David, he's going home with just over $17,000.
Brett Murray has just been eliminated in 8th place, taking home more than $17,000. We are now one step closer to finding out who's going to be the next HPT champion. We'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back to the HPT. It's Jaymz Larson and David Williams broadcasting from Lincoln, California, here at the Thunder Valley Casino Resort. Chip counts look like that. Nick on top, but right behind him, Ricky and Mike. So, David, nice to have you here in the broadcast booth. What's new in your life these days?
Well, James, I'm just continuing to grind, playing all the big tournaments, traveling the world, playing the various tours, and then it's enjoying my time home with my daughter, being a dad. I love it.
Blinds are $25,000, $50,000 with a $5K ante. Well, we're glad that you are on the trip here to Lincoln, California, here at the Thunder Valley Casino Resort.
Mike's got a lot of room. That's the players who busted on his left and his right. Love that feeling.
Sometimes it gets a little crowded playing poker with 9 dudes at the table. So, yeah, a little bit of breathing room for him.
Michael in the small blind has 6-3 offsuit, and instead of folding, he's deciding to play this hand. He's going to make a raise.
I'm mixing up the play a little bit here on the HPT, and he raises to $125,000.
It's a little interesting when the chip leader is in the big blind.
And now Nick from the big is going to make the call.
I don't recommend this play when the chip leader is to your left in the big blind and you have a hand as bad as 6-3.
And the flop is 10-5-4, so a nice flop there for Mike.
Michael flops an open-ended straight draw, but decides to check, which I think is a mistake. If you're going to raise out of position pre-flop with that hand, and you get a flop like that, you need to bet it so that you can also win the pot by your opponent just folding. And his opponent does have king high and probably would not have continued.
Nick now is going to bet $140,000. He is from the Ukraine. He's got $160,000 in total poker winnings. His plans for the cash: invest it back in poker. I love that, Nick. Great strategy.
See, now Michael has to put $140,000 into this hand, whereas if I'm going to be putting $140,000 in the pot, I'd rather be betting it than calling it.
And the turn card is the 7 of hearts. Just like that, David, Michael hits one of the cards he needs, and he makes his straight.
Yeah, Nick can improve with the 6, but other than that, it looks pretty slim for him to lose this hand.
And Michael's got him right where he wants him. He checks over. Nick's reaching for chips. He's going to put out a bet, and it looks like $230,000. Now, do you just flat this here if you're Michael?
I think if you're Michael, you definitely don't want to raise here. I mean, you want to call. There's not many cards that can come on the river that can kill your hand. You have to take a little bit of risk.
Well, he's all in. He doesn't want to wait around, and I can't see Nick making this call.
Yeah, there's no way Nick can call. He's got a gut shot and an overcard. The thing is, if you just call here, any strong hand is probably betting most rivers, and any hand that was bluffing, which is going to fold now, might bluff again on the river. So I think he lost some value by check raising all in, but there's nothing wrong with taking down a pot.
So Michael is going to win the hand. He's 27 years old. He's from Felton, California. His plans for the cash, you ready for this, David? He's going to add to his savings account.
Just put it with the rest is basically what he's saying. Just going to put it in the pile.
Just don't always hear that he's going to put it right into the savings account. Well, congratulations, Michael. Action is folded around now to Michael in the 9 seat. He folds. Nick now looks at ace-jack suited up in hearts on the button, so good position for him here with ace-jack.
Fairly standard to raise here, especially being the chip leader with the button, with the strong hand, everything you could ask for.
Raises up to $115,000. Mark's going to fold from the small. Now over to Tom. He's in the big blind. Hello! The big blind special there. Couple of kings, David.
Yeah, and with the size of his stack, I don't see how this is not going to get all in and be called. He doesn't have many chips, and this is what he was waiting for.
And it's a 3-bet to $325,000.
I think if you're the button and the chip leader with a hand as strong as ace-jack suited, you're unlikely giving it up. He decides to put him all in.
And now a 4-bet shove, and yeah, Tom has to call this. Tom West is all in here. He flips over his pocket kings, going up against Nick and the ace-jack. Tom West is 31 years old, a catering guru. He's got over $1 million in online and live earnings. And we go to the flop. And the flop is 9-7-4, couple of clubs. Good news for Tom West.
He's looking to dodge an ace, or running 10-8.
Go to the turn card now. And it's another 9, this time the 9 of spades. So Tom, 1 card away from a double up to keep his tournament hopes alive here at the Thunder Valley Casino Resort. And the river card is the 10 of diamonds. So 2 pair for Tom West. He's going to double up, keep his tournament hopes alive here at Thunder Valley. And I think he's texting somebody here to say,
hey, Mom, just doubled up.
Yeah, I doubled up. Life is good.
I thought for sure. The reason I thought it was good.
Tom's brother, Tim, no stranger to the HBT. He's made 2 final tables with us.
That's probably who he was texting.
Probably. He's probably saying, all right, bro, I'm going to get some bragging rights here.
We are back in this thing.
Tom in the 3 seat.
I see a couple of our players listening to music. Is that something you normally do when you're at a final table, or just when you're playing poker in general? Do you listen to music?
Most final tables I've been at actually don't allow electronic devices, but I think if they did, I probably wouldn't listen to music because I like to be in tune and pay attention to everything going on around me. There's a lot of clues being given out, and you just have to pay attention to pick them up.
Ace Jack from the 9 seat of Michael. He announces a raise.
Another button hand that's pretty strong.
So blinds now, David, they're 25.50. His raise is 120,000. Is that pretty standard for this blind level?
It's actually a little bigger than what current blind raising trends have been. Right now, people usually raise about 2.5 times the big blind. It's about 2.5, but people have been erring on the doubling the blind size, just a little bit more.
Nick with a 3-bet now. He's going to raise to 280,000 with ace queen. And Nick, a little bit of bad luck these last few hands. I think he might be tilting just a little bit, even though he doesn't really show it. But he's lost a few chips.
Yeah, but I think he's still doing all right, and he does have the better hand here. But the image that you picked up on, I'm sure his opponents have, so it's likely going to get him some action with his ace-queen.
And now look at this. Mark is all in. And now action back to Nick. Michael gets out of the way.
Pretty big raise. Over 1 million chips to call, and it is a 4-bet shove. Tough spot with ace-queen.
Yeah, it's a real tough spot, and he is going to fold, and the winner of the hand is Mark, 31-year-old poker player from Red Bluff, California, with over 21,000 in career earnings. He's hoping to add to that tonight right here on the HPT. When we come back, we'll have more exciting final table action. You are watching the HPT. It's Jaymz Larson and professional poker player David Williams broadcasting this week from Lincoln, California. Thunder Valley Casino Resort. Tom West, Ricky, and Mike leading the pack as we have 7 players left at this nationally televised final table. Up top, David, just under $160,000. Really not a bad payday out here in California.
Not bad. That's great.
It really is. Blinds at $30,000, $60,000 with a $10K ante. So the price of poker is going up. There's your guy. Rick looks down at 9-4 of hearts. I haven't seen him play a hand all night.
Yeah, Rick's just not getting the cards, it seems, or he's really tight, but we've seen his folds. It's not like he's folding anything that I would be playing, so sometimes it's not in the cards, and it's best to just sit back and wait.
Over to Mike, now looks down at King-Queen, and he announces a raise from seat 9.
Michael's been getting fairly active.
And the raise now is to 150,000. Your next player eliminated will go home with just over 21,000. Action now to the 1 seat. And Nick is going to 3-bet now to 320,000 with his pocket 8s.
Nick has 3-bet Michael a few times already. It's an interesting dynamic when you have an aggressive player on your left. The natural thing to do would be to not raise as much because you don't want to get 3-bet.
Action over to Michael now. And he's going to make the call.
It's a pretty loose call. I think if you're going to play the hand, you probably want to try to 4-bet because you think he's not really having that strong of a hand that he's 3-betting you with. Just calling out of position is very dangerous. You're not going to know how to proceed.
And the flop is Queen, Jack, 5, couple of diamonds. And we've seen this twice now tonight where the King-Queen outflops the pocket pair of the opponent.
Michael has checked.
Yeah, and he's, again, out of position, so he checks.
And Nick will check.
And Nick is going to check as well here, so we go to the turn card, and it's another queen, this time the Queen of Hearts. So good news for Michael. He's going to check again over to Nick and maybe see if Nick's going to try to hang himself.
I think he feels at this point when Nick checked behind him, Nick probably doesn't have much, so he's not going to call a bet. So I think he's just trying to get some value, hoping Nick bluffs.
Nick takes a look and he's decided to
So Nick is going to bet 280,000. No reason for Michael to raise here, right, David?
Right. If you raise here, you're really only getting called if by a hand that's beating you. Much better play is to just call, let your opponent bluff the river. If your opponent does have a jack or a middle pocket pair such as these 8s, he might value bet the river.
A few hands ago, we saw him raise all in when he had that straight. This time, he does make the call. And the river card is the 10 of hearts. So maybe we'll see Michael bet here, but he doesn't. He checks.
So I think Michael's checking, hoping to get a bluff out of Nick. You know, he can't expect Nick to have too strong a hand, although he was 3-bet pre-flop. So ace-king is in the range, in addition to pocket jacks or pocket 10s. If you have king-queen, though, I don't think you're really worried about that. I think he's just trying to get some value, hoping Nick makes a bet.
So Nick is all in. Action over to Michael.
Wow, I'm surprised Michael didn't snap call. I think Michael's really thinking, wow, does he have the ace-king? Does he have 2 jacks or 2 tens? Because those are pretty much the only hands that he could have that beat him that would 3-bet him pre-flop. He's not doing it with queen jack or queen 10. But if I'm in that seat with the king-queen, you're going to have to pry it out of my hands. There's no way I'm folding.
And he is going to fold. Unbelievable. Now, David, I know it's easy for us. We can see what everybody has, but I'm shocked by that play right there.
I think he really convinced himself that Nick had ace-king. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense. He checked back the flop, which is what a player with ace-king might do after 3-betting you. Then he fired a small bet on the turn, and then the river comes to 10, and he decides to move all in. He did really play it. The story he told was, I have ace-king.
Wow. You're seeing some great poker here coming to you from Thunder Valley Casino Resort right outside of Sacramento, California, here in Lincoln. It's James, it's David.
And Mark has an ace-10 of spades.
And Mark is going to announce a raise from the 2 seat. And he is going to raise it up to $150,000 with a suited up ace-10. Is ace-10 a hand you like to play? A little bit better now that it's suited.
I do like the hand, but I don't like the position. He is under the gun at a 7-handed table. Anybody wakes up with anything, you're going to hear about it. And our man Rick, who hasn't played a hand yet, finally moves all in. If I'm sitting here with the ace-10 of spades, I don't like it one bit.
And look at this now. Rick all in with his pocket kings. It's a 3-bet shove. Now over to Michael with pocket jacks.
There's no way Michael's going to be able to get away from this, especially after folding that previous hand. It's got to be driving him nuts because either he thinks he folded the best hand or he thinks he got rivered. So there's no way he's going to fold a hand as strong as 2 jacks. Unfortunately, when a man like Rick moves all in, who hasn't played a hand at the final table, I don't really like 2 jacks very much. And as we see, he does have 2 kings.
And now action over to Mark. He was the original raiser. He's going to fold.
And this is the reason why you don't want to raise ace-10 under the gun. There's plenty of hands left that people can wake up with. We've got kings and jacks behind you.
So Rick playing his first hand of the night wakes up with pocket kings going up against the jacks. And we go to the flop, 2 sevens and a queen. Good news for Rick.
It would be pretty disappointing to wait this long for a hand as strong as kings and take a bad beat. But we've seen it happen numerous times at final tables.
Turn card now is the ace of diamonds. Yeah, we know somebody had the ace. I believe it was the 2 seat of Mark with his ace-10. Can't think that way in poker, though. You can't. Well, you can, but it'll drive you crazy.
Yeah, you can't be results oriented. You have to just make smart decisions.
And the river card is the 8 of spades. So Rick is going to win the hand. His 2 pair, kings and sevens. He doubles up. He's 66 years old, a retired school teacher. And the best part about Rick's story, into this tournament for only $300. What a great return on his investment. When we come back, we'll have more exciting final table action. Welcome back to the HPT. It's Jaymz Larson and David Williams broadcasting from the Thunder Valley Casino Resort right here in Lincoln, California. There's the chip counts. Tom and Ricky up top, rounding out the bottom, Rick and Michael. And speaking of this HPT event, up top just over $159,000 in cash. Right now, the next player eliminated will go home with $21,165. Second place, not too shabby, $97,569. Your third place finisher will go home with just under $65,000. So I want to thank everybody for coming out here to the Thunder Valley Casino Resort. I said it earlier, Ben Irwin, the Director of Poker Operations, always does a great job, him and his staff, bringing the HPT out here. And as you can see by our prize pool, the total prize pool just under $700,000. We love seeing that on the HPT.
Mark wakes up with an ace-jack.
He's going to raise to $140,000. Tom gets out of the way. Over to the 5 seat, and Mike looks down at the Sammy Hagar, pocket fives, 55. Well, not just a fold, but a pretty quick fold there with the pocket fives.
I like it. Strong, disciplined poker.
And Rick now, who's only played 1 hand. His previous hand, he had pocket kings. This time, he's got pocket queens. And it's a 3-bet shove for Rick. Action now over to Mark. As you can see by the graphic, 1,000,000 chips for him to make this call.
I said it before when he had the kings, not just because I saw his hand, but when you're facing an all-in from a player like this, I think it was a 3-bet at that time. Pretty easy to get away from 2 jacks. I think ace-jack is even easier to get away from this player.
And Mark is going to make the call, so we're going to flip over the cards and see it's ace-jack against pocket queens.
Mark shows ace of hearts and jack of diamonds.
Rick doesn't want to go home just quite yet. Only $300 invested in this tournament. His plans for the cash are to pay bills. The flop, 2 7s and a 10. So, again, good news for Rick.
Frankie, let's see the turn card.
Turn card now is the 5 of hearts. We remember, of course, the 5 seat of Mike Riddle had pocket 5s.
I think if Mike was short stacked, he might have moved all in with those 2 5s, but he's got too many chips to bother.
9 of diamonds now on the river, so once again, the double up complete for Rick, and he said something over there to Mike. I think Mike's going, damn, why didn't I just make that call?
It always amazes me when players who play as tight as him get the loose action they do get. I mean, the jacks wasn't really loose action, although I think because it was a 3-bet you could have folded, but I think this ace-jack here was a clear fold. Rick's never doing this with a hand that you're dominating, and at best case you have a flip, but you're probably just beat.
So glad you joined us tonight here on the HPT, and if you want to play at one of these final tables, well, our tournaments are open to any player, man or woman. Check out our webpage at hptpoker.com. Give it a shot, and who knows, maybe you'll be playing for $159,599 like these players are tonight. Mark is going to go all in now with his Jack 7.
Yeah, Mark doesn't have many blinds. He's thought about it for quite a while and realized that the blinds are coming up, and he'd rather go with this hand than to just be forced to put it in the blinds.
Over to Tom West now, 31 years old. He's a catering guru. I've never met a catering guru in my life. I like to eat, so maybe Tom and I would get along real well.
It's a pretty loose call with the ace-4 diamonds. I mean, I get you do have a suited ace, but there is still a lot of action behind you. There's still chances for players to wake up with stronger hands.
Rick folds. He doesn't have an ace. Aces, kings, or queens. He's only played 2 hands. He's going to fold.
Ricky gets in there with the ace-6 offsuit, which is not good for the ace-4.
And the 1 seat of Nick is going to fold. So one player all in. That's Mark with his Jack 7 going up against ace-6 and ace-4. Ricky and Tom thinking, all right, we can maybe get rid of a player here and move our way up the payroll here on this HPT final table. The flop is 10-7-6.
Connected his 7. He has a hammer lock on this hand here.
Both players check. Now the turn card is the tray of diamonds,
which improves Tom's equity quite a bit. He's now picked up a diamond draw and a straight draw. Ricky has a pair of 6s also, so Mark has to dodge an ace, a 6, a diamond, a 5.
That's it. Tom is going to bet $220,000, and Ricky is going to get out of the way, so we're going to flip up the cards, and Mark sees that for the moment, he is in the lead, trying to double up and keep his tournament hopes alive. 31-year-old poker player from Red Bluff, California, with over $21,000 in career earnings. He's hoping to add to that tonight. And the river card is the 8 of hearts, so no luck for Tom. The winner of the hand is Mark. He's going to triple up. And as we look at his biggest accomplishments in life, he wrote this in his little poker bio. He said he was seated at the same table and battled with Phil Hellmuth and Jonathan Duhamel at a WPT event, and he eventually knocked out Phil Hellmuth. Is there anything better, David, than knocking Phil Hellmuth out of a poker tournament?
I've done it once or twice, and I can say there isn't.
So congratulations to Mark with the triple up. And we continue here. Blinds 30,000, 60,000 with a 10K ante. It's Jaymz Larson and David Williams right outside of Sacramento, California. Thunder Valley Casino Resort. Up top for your champion, just under $160,000. Action folding around quickly now to the 9 seat.
Michael's on the button. We saw him before play the 6-3 in the small blind, but he's pretty short right now, so he doesn't have the luxury of playing hands like 3-5 suited on the button anymore.
So now Nick from the small blind basically going to get Mark all in here with that raise. And Mark sees the ace of spades, so probably a call here, I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, he's got less than 10 big blinds, and he found an ace against the small blind, putting him all in. It's kind of a situation where you're almost forced to call. He'd like a better kicker, because if he's up against another ace, he's really in bad shape, but good news for him, he's only up against the Jack 5 offsuit.
Great news for Mark as he flips over his hand. It's ace deuce going up against Jack 5. So Mark makes the call. He's 31 years old from Red Bluff, California. He's into this event for only $360. Mark's got to be pretty happy with this position right now. We go to the flop.
He's not happy anymore.
He's not happy anymore. The flop comes Jack, 10, tray, couple of diamonds.
He's going to need some runners or an ace.
All right, Frankie, let's see the turn card.
And now we go to the turn card. It's the 6 of clubs. So now Mark just looking for one of the remaining aces, otherwise he's going to be eliminated. And the river card is the 6 of spades, so no luck for Mark. He is eliminated, going home in 7th place with just over $21,000. And, you know, a big success story here for Mark as he entered this tournament for only $360, going home with $21,165. Congratulations to Mark.
With that elimination, we are now 6-handed here at Thunder Valley and one step closer to crowning our new HPT champion. We'll find out who that might be after the break.
Welcome back to the HPT. It's Jaymz Larson, joined by professional poker player David Williams, broadcasting this week from the Thunder Valley Casino Resort.
Tom West has a pretty sizable lead with about 52 big blinds. Michael's our short stack with 8, and the rest are all hovering around that 30 big blind range. Anyone's game at this point.
Speaking of blinds, it's 40,000, 80,000 with a 10K ante. Had a great week out here at the Thunder Valley Casino Resort. Action starts with the 5 seat of Mike and a fold. Rick is going to fold. I think Rick's only played 2 hands, right? He's played the kings and he's played the queens. That's it.
Why would you play anything else if you're going to get those hands twice at a final table?
Action over now to Ricky, who's going to go ahead and raise it up with ace tray.
And Ricky makes it 185,000 to go.
Popular hand here at this final table. As Tom looks down at king queen, and we've seen that hand run pretty well here at tonight's final table.
I think this is actually the first time it hasn't been dominated either by a bigger pair or just a better hand. I mean, he is up against ace-3, but at least he has some equity in this pot. And if it does connect, he's probably not in trouble.
All right, here comes the flop.
And the flop is ace-9 tray, couple of spades. Great flop for Ricky.
Check.
Tom's going to check.
Tom checks, and we're up to Ricky.
Now, if you're Ricky here, what do you do in this position?
I think I'm going to check back. I mean, there's not a lot of cards that are really bad for my hand. Only a 9 really is bad for it. And, you know, if my opponent happened to have an ace, they're going to call anyways, and you give them some ropes. I mean, maybe they will lead out the turn.
Ricky's going to bet $280,000 over to Tom.
Not sure what Tom's thinking, Greg.
I'm not sure either.
I guess he's going to make a play, but it doesn't seem like Ricky's been getting out of line lately, so it's not really the guy you want to make a play against.
So re-raise to $590,000. Now what do you want Ricky to do? Just maybe flat here?
No, I think at this stage it's time to move all in because your opponent is unlikely check raising you with a bluff. They have a strong hand, and when they do that, you would guess they have an ace. So you want them to get the money in right now so that no card comes and scares them away.
And Tom folds, so Ricky is going to win the hand.
You know, something Daniel Griner taught me, instead of check raise bluffing here, if you're going to make that bluff, you might as well just lead out. You probably have the same success rate, and it cost you a lot less chips. Now Tom lost quite a bit of a stack making that bluff because he decided to check raise instead of just lead out.
In the booth this week with David Williams. You won your World Series of Poker bracelet, not in Hold'em, but 7-card stud.
Yeah, the joke I made was I had to win the event named after me, you know. And
Right.
then someone said, "Man, why do they call you 7-card?"
Took me a second, but I got it. Michael is all in now with his ace-9. Action over to Nick in the 1 seat.
It's got a hand I really like. I wouldn't call with it, but it does look pretty. Jack-10 suited.
Action now over to Tom, who lost a few chips on that last hand. Looks down at King-Jack.
635.
It's kind of interesting. King-Jack isn't that strong of a hand. Granted, the all-in isn't a very big bet. You still have to deal with the button, small blind, and big blind having the chance of waking up with a hand.
So now Tom is going to make the call with his King-Jack there. I'm a little surprised at that.
Yeah, King-Jack is not a very strong hand. You can call the all-in if you're, say, closing the action in the big blind, but he still has the button, small, and big blind who could easily wake up with a hand.
Now action over to Ricky.
Go ahead.
Ricky thinks about it, but he's going to fold. So we're going to flip over the cards. It's Tom with his King-Jack going up against Michael's ace-9. As you can see by the graphic, Michael all in. And the flop is Queen-9-7. So Michael's still in the lead, but Tom picks up a gutter ball straight draw.
In addition to his pair draw, he's got 10 outs.
Turn card now is the 5 of diamonds. Michael in good shape, but
come on.
He's got a lot of cards to fade, David.
He looks pretty nervous here. And I understand. I've been there. You're sweating that river card. It's one of the scariest feelings. You're just praying, please, please.
So the winner of the hand is Michael. He's going to double up.
Yeah, there it is. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Michael wins the hand, doubles up, and most importantly, keeps his tournament hopes alive here at the Thunder Valley Casino Resort. Well, it's time for us to get out of here for tonight, David, but what did you think as a professional poker player of the play at tonight's final table?
I thought we saw some really good play from all players. Michael got a much-needed double up to put him right back in the mix, and at this stage, it's really anyone's game.
And next week, we'll have the conclusion from the Thunder Valley Casino Resort. But before we do that, I want to remind you to check out our webpage at www.hptpoker.com. Find an event that will work for you, and who knows, maybe you'll be playing for the life-changing cash. For David Williams, I'm Jaymz Larson, and we'll see you next time on the HPT.